Hey class, get started on week 3. I think everyone has done a phenomenal job the last 2 weeks getting done with statistics. We're about a quarter of the way done with the class, so I'm proud of everyone. I wanted to go ahead and go over this case study that we have. It is in chapter 6 of our textbook. It is the toy specialization case study, and we're going to go over it together so that we can see how I did it, and then you can go ahead and duplicate it and expand on some of my questions. So if you haven't read the case study in our textbook, can you please pause the video? Great, so I'm glad that you read the textbook, the case study, and you're looking at the questions. Let's look at question number 1. So we're going to use the sales forecaster prediction to describe the normal probability distribution that can be used to approximate the demand distribution. Let's sketch the distribution and show its mean and standard deviation. Alright, so I went ahead and I sketched it in here showing that 20,000 is its mean and its standard deviation is 5,102. Another way that we can go ahead and do that is just by looking at our mean, or our z-score is 1.96 in there as well. You can go ahead and put this into Excel as well from week 1. You have the tools to get you the normal distribution or the average, and you also have the tools to get the standard deviation. All right, so we're going to go to question number 2, and let's look at the question number 2 here. We are going to compute the probability of stock out. So this happens all the time. How many times have you tried to go to the store and you go and you say, hey, I want to buy something, and then you know it's out of stock. Especially with everything that's going on in today's world, we've seen it. The demand just spiked. We didn't know about that. But in here is that we do have sometimes where we control the demand. So some companies like Burberry or Louis Vuitton will always make sure to have a limited quantity. What I mean by that is that they don't want to overstock their shelves. If overstocking their shelves, it means that they'll have items that didn't sell. So then they become a question of, do they sell these items to discounters, or they have to destroy the items? If they destroy the items, they make no money on it. So rare items like Rolex, Louis Vuitton, those higher end brands, really try to make sure that they have a stock out in there so that people do run out, so that when you go to the store you want to purchase it. Alright, so we can do this manually or we can use Excel. I'm going to go ahead and use Excel. You can see that I already have it in here through our normal distribution. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and click my function button. You can see that I have my formula builder over here. I'm going to go ahead and type in the norm distribute, and you'll see right there statistics. I can use either one of these, it doesn't matter. I'm going to insert function, and then I'm going to see that I have the following numbers in here that are telling us what we need to have. So we have our 15,000, we have our mean, we have our standard deviation, and then what we want to type in is true, and we want to make sure that we use all capital letters. Alright, and then we get the number 16. Okay, what we want to do is that's not right. What we want to do is take 1 minus this number here, and we get 83. And that is what's going to represent us for that amount that we have. So what is the probability of a stock out order? If we have 15,000, we have it here that we do have it. All right, let's go ahead and let's look at question number 3 in our case. This one's probably the harder question that we're going to have to look at, because it's not something that we could just throw into a formula in Excel. We're going to have to kind of look at this one easier. There isn't a formula that we can compute it out, but doing that takes way more time than just manually going to put this in. All right, so let's say that we had a total amount of cells, right? of 15,000 produced. And we were going to base it off of our three sales numbers of 10,000, 20,000, and 30,000 that we have in the case. So if we produce 10,000 and we only sold 10,000, then our total cost, which you see here, is $16. 10,000 times 16, right? 24. At $24, I can just go ahead, I can put that into my Excel document, but I didn't set it up correctly when I was going through this. I just typed in 24. So I'm going to do 24, and I'm going to times that by our sales number, and then we get that 10,000. And then we didn't sell any more, so we had to sell those remaining, which is 5,000. 15,000 minus 10,000 gives us 5,000, and I'm just going to times that by the $5 per unit. And we look here, and look, it's telling me that I didn't like my comma. And then here I can go ahead and I can put in this formula here that I just made up. That's our cost minus our, well, I'm going to put this as a negative, and then I'm going to put this as a plus. Let's see if that works in there, and we see it does. It's perfect. It equals 25,000. Okay. We don't have to do the 30,000 here, as you see, but we do have to do the 24,000. So I can go ahead and say, hey, 24,000. I calculated that just to show you. $16 times our 15,000, 240,000. Okay, and then if we sold 15,000 of these, right? So we're going to sell them 15,000 at the $24. I get a, doesn't like the comma in there, and then we have 0 here, and then here we know that we're not going to sell 30,000, so we can just blank those out. Actually, zeros would be wrong. We'll put just blanks it out, and then I can drag it down. All right, and then we see that we profited 120,000. Okay, doing this takes a little bit more work, but it helps us to do the problem right instead of setting this up in the Excel, which would take even more work. So the next part of this is that if we were to produce the next amount of numbers in there, we would do that, and we would have 3 of them, and these would be the charts that we would want to put into our paper. All right, let's go now to question number 4. We're going to look at this one, and we're going to say one of our specialty managers felt the probability potential was so great that the order quantity should have a 70% chance of meeting demand and only a 30% chance of any stockouts. What quantity would be ordered under this policy, and what is the projection under the 3 sales scenarios? All right, so I'm going to go ahead this into our Excel document so that we can look here at this and we can come up with a pretty easy equation. So that in here, and I'll just type it in. There we go. I can choose all or statistical, insert my function, and I'll look at the probability, and that my probability, if I was to set this up, I would make a better chart that I did here in there. Then my mean, I would put in my mean as 20,000, and then my standard deviation here, which is my 5,102 that we got from the first problem. And then I would go ahead and put it in, and then we would find out here, and then we can't have halves. So I'm going to just format this cell to look better. It's always funny when you look at this and you say, okay, well, it's a half. Well, you can't produce a half, so we'll just go ahead and put that as 0, and then for some reason I need that comma in there so I can register it better. 22,675 is what we would want to order in this, or in this case, a little 22,676. All right, now let's go ahead and let's look at our question number 5 that we have here. And our question number 5 is, what provide your own recommendations? And so we saw where we were on a lot of them. So in here is there's a variety of recommendations that we can. The students, you can justify recommendations by showing the project profit obtained under the 3 scenarios. In parts 3 and 4, in 1820 range strikes a good compromise between risk and loss in there. So, one of the things that in doing quantitative business, you can do something of 19,000 going in between the two and saying, hey, that's a pretty good number, instead of sitting there and calculating this specific number that you could to maximize the profit. Going in there and having it at 19,000 is okay. Then you can always do something a little bit different, and you can really look at it and maximize it so that you can have the highest profitability that you can. And so that gets you just a lot more sophisticated, and it shows a lot more results in there. So if you have any questions or concerns, you know that I'm always here to help you. You can email me or send me or give me a call. Have a good week.